present Nigerian situation raises a lot of cause for concern, with many saying the government is paying the price of years of incivility by its authorities and citizenry. In the last decade, our guests and many other human rights advocates have, through the media, warned of dire consequences, whether in immediate or future terms, that there will be chaos and ultimate implosion if we do not, as Nigerians, reverse the culture of disregard for human rights standards, impunity, and relegation of the rule of law. Joining us now is the Executive Director, Citizens Advocacy for Social and Economic Rights, Frank Tietie, to speak to us, to discuss with us the way forward. Frank Tietie, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the morning show. Well, what's your take on the situation of Nigeria at the moment? We have moved from one pandemic, coronavirus, to another pandemic, which is social unrest. And the country is counting the cost. And obviously, there will be consequences politically, socially, economically. What's your take on the situation in which?
Well, thank you very much. I think we are clearly, as a country, simply paying the price for many years of disregard for human rights and the rule of law. We have missed several opportunities to humanize our government system. We have a system that is oppressive, naturally oppressive, expectedly to be oppressive, because it serves those who operate it and doesn't serve the usual paradigm of a government that's supposed to be an instrument of the state to cater to the welfare and security of the people. We've long missed it, and what we have just experienced is a heightened tension, pent-up tension, and it got to a point where it only needed a trigger, and it's for us to have the kind of situation we had in the last 2 weeks. You see, it's a cycle, something that it's inevitable. You can't stop it. You may think that the embers of the fires that were raging last 2 weeks have actually gone down. No, another cycle is brewing if we do not drastically, fundamentally, as a matter of serious urgency, change the entire Nigerian paradigm. And that has always been the call. In recent times, it's been branded with several names: restructuring, being a stickler for rule of law. But you see, the governing class, those who have operated government, do not see this. And let me tell you, the young Nigerians have been typified, described as lazy, aloof, unconcerned, because there has been a contracted social space for them to even participate. It's a shame that when we had 44-year-olds running the biggest economies in the world, but in Nigeria, they are not qualified to even dream of running as for the presidency. So we have had this gargantuan problem with regards to a repression of the citizenry, the youth. I don't want to sound a bit discriminatory, because the youth are simply part of the citizenry. What has happened is this unnecessary stereotyping, and then it got to a point, the young person in Nigeria just told himself that, look, death is better than this. It is either freedom, like Patrick Henry said, or we die. So, and that's the reason why they went with that kind of rage. So, for me, it was expected. I've long expected it. I don't believe in it. I don't support it. But that's why I didn't join the NSAS movement, because I simply laid back and I said, yes, the time has come. Every now and then we're on television, on radio, warning Nigerians, warning those who run government, that you need to operate government according to the book. Don't operate government in a self-serving manner to the extent that you disregard the yearning and aspirations of Nigerians. And now the young people have seen that they don't have anywhere to run to. The visas are so tight now. They don't have anywhere to express themselves. This is the only place they got. And when they saw that the police, the SARS police became a repository of everything that was wrong about Nigeria, they said it was do or die. And that was what happened. I agree that the government and all of those who should have managed this failed woefully in the mismanagement of this whole crisis. I believe it was a golden moment for our country. It was a golden moment for our president to turn things around. But like I've always noted with this administration particularly, it always misses opportunities.
Very passionate there, Mr. Frank Tietie. Now, let's look at this from another perspective. In law, no one has unlimited rights. I mean, this can be exercised in the maxim, your right ends where mine begins. Now, looking at this, would this maxim, hold ground on two things, actually? One, the curfew that was imposed by the Lagos state government on the peaceful protesters. And two, on the fact that, everything that happened, within the Lekki protests, the fact that some people would say they were unable to move around and it affected their businesses. Would this maxim hold ground on these two issues?
Let me tell you something. You see, we must look at causal effects. You see, you underestimate the power of mob psychology. You see, the crowd didn't have a leader. The crowd was being moved by a sort of spirit that nobody could control. They themselves couldn't control themselves. They didn't know what was driving them. Yes, that was what can happen when you misgovern, when you trample on people's rights, when you get people to that level. So, right-thinking people would not want to abuse other rights. We don't want to, young people who want to enjoy life would not want to go and barricade streets or go to Lekki toll gate and cause trouble. No, but somehow, the young Nigerians needed to be heard for once. Needed to know, the world needed to share their pains. I hope they will not be disappointed. I hope the world will not disappoint them the way they've continued to disappoint Africa. You see, so you cannot cast blame on the young persons who have been provoked to the extent to which they could not but only come to the street to say, we are dying, SARS has been killing us, the Nigerian system does not hold any hope for us. Listen to us. Those are cries of dying people. So let us not shift the issue as to the fact that the young people who protested, who demonstrated their angst against this government are not the victims. No, are not the oppressors, are not the offenders. No, they have always been the victims. They are the victims. Let us focus on the fact that they have constantly been victimized by the Nigerian system.
Well, Frank Tietie, let's just talk about solutions. Here at Arise News, we're thinking of solutions. What's the way forward? What ideas will you suggest to the government of Nigeria as to the way forward, either with regard to youth employment, youth inclusion, youth development, youth policy, or other issues?
Thank you very much. All of those programs that the president made in his politically correct speech have not worked. If they have worked, the Nigerian youth would have been satisfied. Now, when you talk about the way forward, why should we sound like broken records? Why should we say the same thing all over again? Are you telling me that the brilliant people who run government, who are in the public service, don't know what the solution is? Because they are overwhelmed by the need for self-aggrandizement, so they don't want to apply these solutions. So what does it take to simply carefully obey the laws as they are written either in the Constitution or the various statutes? What does it take? What does it take to make Nigeria an egalitarian state where people can be certain that I do not need to come from this place or that place, I do not need to know one person or the other, but I know for certain that my rights guaranteed under Chapter 4 of the Constitution will be obeyed, will be complied to. You don't need so much. Look, what I think needs to be done in the immediate is that some measure of sincerity needs to be expressed by the government. First and foremost, this is our president who in 2018 set up a presidential panel on the reformation of SARS, and then the Tony Ojukwu-led panel, and then courageously that panel, and I constantly respect the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission to that effect, made copious recommendation, direct, in very clear terms to the president. Look, reform SARS. First of all, change the name. It should be removed completely from the political lexicon of Nigeria. Again, set up state police. They even went further to say, set up local government police. It was an ecstatic moment for me when I saw that report being presented to the president. And the president received it and gave directives that a panel be set up immediately to put up a white paper for the purpose of implementing it. For goodness sake, that was in 2018 and then 2019. What are you going to recommend to those persons who have already got such recommendations? You want us to constantly reinvent the wheel? So what we need now to show that this government is sincere is for us to have a breath of fresh air. Like Shehu said, remove the Inspector General of Police, not because he has done wrong. Remove the Chief of Army Staff, not because he has done wrong, but we need some new things. You cannot be holding such sensitive positions and not be ingenuous enough to prevent what has happened. You keep everything in the, after all, they say the buck stops at the table of the president. Look, we have the president that is an old man. Look, what do you expect of him? He set up panel. The reports have been submitted to him. He set up another panel that for implementation. Nothing was done. So we need, some measure of sincerity by some freshness coming into the government, and that means remove some people and get some new persons to run the system, and then we can start believing you.
Thank you, Frank
Thank you so
Tietie.
much.
Thank you for joining us on the morning show today. Thank you very much indeed.